There is something happening in your life right now that you cannot fully explain. A silence that has grown heavier. A distance that no one spoke out loud but everyone felt. People who used to be close are slowly fading, not with a dramatic goodbye, not with a fight, not with a clear reason you can point to and say, this is where it ended. Just a quiet withdrawal. A pulling away that feels almost invisible until one day you look around and realize the space where they used to be is now empty. And somewhere deep inside you, beneath the grief, beneath the confusion, beneath the part of you that wants to reach out and hold on, there is a voice, a knowing, a whisper that says, this was supposed to happen. If you are a Scorpio, you understand this feeling better than anyone. You were not born to live on the surface of things. You were born to feel everything at its deepest level, to sense what others cannot see, to know what is real and what is performance, to perceive the invisible threads that connect souls, and more painfully, the threads that are unraveling. You have always known when something was ending before it officially ended. You have always felt the shift before the world caught up to it. That is not a curse, that is your gift. And right now, the universe is using that gift to lead you somewhere most people are not brave enough to go. My name is Madame Tina, and I am a spiritual guide devoted to the deeper mysteries of the soul, to the sacred language of archetypes, energy, and transformation. This channel exists for those who are ready to move beyond the ordinary and step into the truth of who they really are. If you have been feeling this pull, this sense that something in your life is reorganizing itself at a level beyond your control, then this message was placed in front of you for a reason. Stay with me until the very end, because what I am about to reveal will not only explain what you are going through, it will show you the profound spiritual significance of this moment and why the most painful part of this chapter is also the most powerful. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. If these messages speak to your soul, if you find yourself returning to this space because something here feels true and necessary, I invite you to subscribe to this channel right now. Every week, I bring spiritual guidance crafted specifically for those walking the path of transformation, awakening, and deeper self-understanding. This is not a place for surface-level answers. This is a place for truth. Subscribe and let this be a space your soul returns to whenever it needs to remember who it is. Now let us talk about what is really happening. The universe does not make mistakes. When someone begins to fade from your life, when a connection starts to feel hollow, when a friendship that once felt nourishing begins to drain you, when a relationship that once felt like home starts to feel like a cage, that is not a coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is not something you did wrong. That is the universe reorganizing your energetic field with a precision and an intelligence that your human mind may not immediately understand, but your soul recognizes completely. Some people are placed in our lives as permanent souls. Others come as temporary teachers, as mirrors, as catalysts. And when their role is complete, the universe begins the sacred work of separation, not as punishment, as protection, as elevation. For Scorpio, this process is never gentle. You do not experience loss lightly. When someone leaves your world or when you feel them slipping away, you feel it in places most people do not even know exist within themselves. You feel it in the part of you that trusted, in the part of you that allowed someone to see beneath your armor, in the part of you that stayed when every instinct told you to retreat. Because Scorpio does not give access easily. When you let someone in, you let them all the way in. And when that person begins to leave, or when the universe begins to remove them, the pain is not just emotional. It is energetic. It is spiritual. It is the feeling of something being extracted from a place so deep it leaves an echo. But here is what I need you to understand right now, in this moment, before we go any further. The pain you are feeling is not evidence that you made a mistake by loving. It is not evidence that you were wrong to trust. It is not a sign that you are weak or foolish or too much. It is evidence that you are in the middle of a sacred transition. And sacred transitions always require letting go of what was in order to receive what is coming. Before we continue, let me ask you a question. Do you know what moon reading is? It's a personalized astrological reading that reveals how the position of the moon impacts your life, your feelings, and even your biggest dreams. Want to uncover these secrets about yourself? Get your free moon reading now. Just click the link in the description to receive your personal chart in minutes. Take this chance to connect with the stars and start your journey of self-discovery. The universe has a language. It does not speak in words the way we do. It speaks in patterns, in synchronicities, in the slow and deliberate movement of things that no longer serve your highest path. It speaks in the growing silence between you and someone you once felt deeply connected to. It speaks in the exhaustion you feel after spending time with certain people. It speaks in the restlessness inside you that will not quiet down no matter how hard you try to distract yourself. It speaks in dreams that leave you unsettled, in memories that surface for no apparent reason, in the sudden clarity that comes in the middle of the night when all the noise has faded and you are left alone with the truth you have been trying not to see. Scorpio, the universe has been speaking to you, and I believe a part of you already knows what it has been saying. You have felt the energy shift. You have felt the change in how certain people look at you, speak to you, or no longer reach out the way they once did. You have felt something contracting in your social world, in your inner circle, in the spaces you once shared with others. And instead of this meaning that you are losing something, I want you to consider the possibility that you are being protected, that the universe is not taking people away from you out of cruelty. It is removing them because they are no longer aligned with where you are going. Because the version of you that is emerging cannot carry every connection from the version of you that existed before. There is a profound truth that Scorpio energy understands at its core, even when the mind resists it. Not every soul is meant to travel the entire journey with you. Some people are meant to walk beside you through one season of your life, and then the path diverges. This does not diminish what was shared. It does not mean the connection was not real. It does not mean you failed each other. It means the sacred agreement between your souls has reached its completion, and the universe, in its wisdom, is honoring that completion by creating the space for both of you to move forward into your next chapter. But here is where it gets more complex, and where I need you to sit with something uncomfortable for a moment. Sometimes the universe removes people not only because they are not aligned with your future, but because they have been draining your energy in ways you may not have fully acknowledged. There are connections that look like love but feel like depletion. There are people who enter your life and over time begin to dim something in you. A subtle dimming, not always dramatic, not always obvious, but Scorpio feels it. You have felt it. The way certain conversations leave you smaller than you were before. The way certain presences carry a weight that settles on your energy like something heavy and gray. The way you have to perform a version of yourself in certain spaces instead of simply existing as who you are. The universe sees this, and the universe, in its relentless commitment to your evolution, begins to loosen those ties. Sometimes gently, sometimes swiftly, sometimes in ways that feel abrupt and disorienting, but always purposefully, always in service of your growth, always in protection of the luminous and powerful soul that lives beneath the armor you have learned to wear. For Scorpio, the armor is real. You built it for good reasons. You have known betrayal. You have known the specific pain that comes from allowing someone into the depths of who you are and having them use that access carelessly. You have known disappointment at a level that left marks on your soul, and so you learn to guard, to observe, to wait, to test, not out of cruelty but out of self-preservation. You do not open easily because you know what it costs to close again. And yet here you are, in the middle of another transition, feeling the ache of separation and wondering if trust was ever worth the risk. I want to speak directly to that wound right now. The people being removed from your life are not proof that you should have loved less. They are not proof that your instincts were wrong or that your heart was foolish. They are proof that you are someone who loves deeply, who invests completely, who shows up with the full force of your soul when you choose to be present. That is not a weakness. That is one of the rarest and most sacred qualities a human being can possess. And the universe is not punishing you for it. The universe is clearing the field so that what you carry can finally be received by those who are truly worthy of it. There is something ancient living inside you, Scorpio. Something that has passed through fire before. Something that knows at a level deeper than conscious thought that destruction and creation are not opposites. They are the same sacred force moving in different directions. You have been here before, not in this exact form, not in this exact life, but your soul carries the memory of transformation. It carries the knowledge of what it means to descend into darkness and return with something luminous in your hands. This is not your first ending, and it will not be your last. But this one carries a weight that feels different, because this time the universe is not simply asking you to let go of something external. It is asking you to release a version of yourself that was built for a chapter that is now closing. Think about who you were when these relationships were formed. Think about what you needed then, what you believed then, what you were willing to accept then. Think about the agreements you made, not in words but in energy, the way you positioned yourself in certain connections, the role you played, the parts of yourself you made smaller to fit into the space someone else needed you to occupy, the silences you kept to preserve a peace that was never truly peaceful, the questions you did not ask because you were afraid of the answers, the boundaries you did not hold because you were afraid of what it would cost you. The universe sees every one of those compromises. It sees the way you have been carrying things that do not belong to you. It sees the weight of connections that have been drawing on your energy without returning it. And now, with a precision that can only be described as divine, it is recalibrating. It is restoring your field. It is dismantling the structures that were built on foundations that could not hold the weight of who you are becoming. This is the Scorpio initiation. Not everyone is called to this depth of transformation. Not everyone has the capacity to descend into the underworld of their own soul and come back changed. But you do. You always have. The very thing that makes Scorpio energy so powerful, your capacity to feel the unseen, to perceive beneath surfaces, to sense the energetic truth of every situation, is the same thing that makes this process so intense for you. You cannot pretend you do not feel it. You cannot numb yourself to what is happening. And even if you tried, some part of you would refuse to let you look away. So instead of fighting the removal, instead of chasing the fading connections, instead of trying to resurrect what the universe is laying to rest, I want to invite you into a different posture, a posture of sacred witnessing, of allowing, of trusting that the intelligence moving through your life right now knows something you do not yet see, because it does. The universe is not operating on the same timeline as your grief. It is not moved by your longing for things to stay the same. It is moved by the truth of your soul, by the path that was written for you before this life began, and by the people and experiences that are waiting for you on the other side of this transition. What is being removed was anchoring you to a version of your life that has reached its ceiling. And Scorpio does not belong at a ceiling. You belong in the infinite. You belong in the depths and the heights simultaneously. You belong in the spaces where most people are afraid to look, bringing back the truth, the raw and sacred truth of what it means to be fully alive. And to get there, You have to be willing to let certain things fall away. Not because they were not beautiful, not because they did not matter, but because beauty and meaning do not always mean permanence. And sometimes the most loving thing the universe can do is set you free from what you would have held on to forever out of loyalty, even as it slowly dimmed your light. The soul knows things the mind cannot yet articulate. And your soul, Scorpio, has known for some time that this transition was coming. There have been signs, moments of inexplicable sadness around people who should have made you feel safe. A growing sense that certain conversations no longer touched the part of you that needed to be reached. A quiet exhaustion that had nothing to do with sleep. A hunger for depth, for truth, for connection that felt real rather than comfortable. These were not random feelings. These were messages. These were the early tremors of the earthquake that is now reshaping your inner landscape. And the earthquake is not a tragedy, it is a revelation. Because what gets shaken loose in a Scorpio transformation is never the foundation. It is only what was built on false ground. The connections that were held together by habit rather than genuine resonance. The relationships that were maintained by your capacity to adapt rather than by true compatibility. The social structures that required you to suppress your instincts in order to belong. All of it is being released. And beneath all of it, beneath the loss and the grief and the silence, there is something intact. Something that was never touched by any of it. The core of who you are. The luminous, fierce, ancient, and unbreakable truth of your soul. This is the gift that Scorpio carries that almost no other energy in the universe possesses. You can die and be reborn within a single lifetime. Not once, but multiple times. You have an extraordinary capacity to descend into your own darkness, to face what lives there without flinching, and to resurface with a power and a clarity that transforms everything around you. That capacity is not something you learned, it is something you are. And right now, in the middle of everything that is falling away, that capacity is being activated at a level you have not yet fully felt. The people who are leaving were not equipped to witness this next version of you, and that is not a judgment of them. Some souls are simply not built for the frequency of a Scorpio in full transformation. Your depth, your intensity, your unwillingness to live at the surface of things, these qualities are not for everyone. And the universe, in its infinite understanding of soul agreements, is creating the space for those who cannot meet you where you are to step back, so that those who can are able to step forward. There are souls coming into your life who will not be frightened by your depth, who will not need you to be smaller or softer or easier to hold. Souls who have walked through their own fire and carry their own luminous wounds. Souls who will look at the parts of you that others found overwhelming and recognize them as sacred. These connections are not fantasy. They are not wishful thinking. They are the natural consequence of the elevation you are undergoing right now. As your energy rises, as your field clears, as you release what was holding you in a frequency that was too small for who you are becoming, you naturally begin to call in resonance at a higher level. But you have to do the work of release first. You have to allow yourself to grieve what is ending without letting the grief convince you that loss is all there is. You have to sit in the sacred emptiness that comes after something is removed and resist the urge to fill it immediately with noise or distraction or a new connection that carries the same patterns as the one that just left. The emptiness is not a problem. The emptiness is where the universe works. It is in the quiet, in the space between what was and what will be, that your soul does its most profound reorganizing. Scorpio, you are not being abandoned, you are being prepared. The universe is not diminishing your world, it is refining it with a precision that love requires. And when this chapter reaches its completion, when the dust settles and you look at the landscape of your life with clear and rested eyes, you will understand. You will see the shape of what was removed and recognize the mercy in it. You will feel the lightness that comes from no longer carrying what was never yours to carry. And you will step forward into a version of your life that finally has room for all of who you are. Not just the parts that are easy, not just the parts that others found convenient, all of it, the fire and the silence, the intuition and the shadow, the wound and the gift, all of you, exactly as you were always meant to be. This is not the end, this is the becoming. And you, Scorpio, were born for exactly this.